You ever notice how good it feels to plan something? To grab a notebook, write your goals, picture the new version of yourself. You tell yourself this time will be different. You watch a motivational video, feel that spark light up, a rush of clarity, of direction, and for a moment, it feels like progress. You haven't done anything yet, but it already feels like you have. That's the illusion. It's so subtle, so comforting. You rarely see it happening because your brain rewards you for imagining the change, almost the same way it rewards you for actually doing it. So you sit there, watching another How to Become Your Best Self speech, nodding along like you're moving forward, but really you're just standing still, getting high on the idea of progress. This is how motivation tricks you. It gives you the feeling of movement without the reality of it. It tells you you're growing because you're inspired, not because you've done anything. It whispers that planning, thinking, or visualizing is enough. And that whisper feels nice and like someone patting you on the back saying, "You're on your way," but you're not. Not yet. You're still in the same place, just better at pretending you're not. You ever notice how easy it is to feel like you're changing? You open your phone, scroll through a few motivational clips, and somewhere between the background music and the voice that says you can do anything, something inside you stirs. You sit up straighter. You start to imagine the new you, disciplined, focused, unstoppable. It feels real, so real that for a moment, you actually believe you've already started. You write down your goals. You imagine the morning routine, the gym grind, the success story, and your mind rewards you instantly. It releases a small rush of satisfaction, like you've already achieved something, but the truth? You haven't moved an inch. You've just been tricked by your own brain, by the illusion of progress. See, motivation is a master illusionist. It doesn't need to show you results. It just needs to make you feel like you're close to them. It paints pictures so vivid that your body relaxes, thinking the work is already done. That's why it feels so good to watch a motivational video late at night. You're exhausted, maybe even lost but in those few minutes you're reborn. The music swells, the speaker's voice cracks with passion, and you start to believe that change is happening right there, in that moment. Except it isn't, because when the video ends, the silence hits and the silence feels heavier than before. Because now, you've felt the simulation of change without any of its substance. Your mind has been fed, but your life hasn't moved. That's the cruel trick of the motivation loop. It gives you emotional closure before the story even begins. You feel inspired, and that feeling acts as a substitute for progress. So you repeat it. You go back for another video, another quote, another spark, and every spark keeps you warm just long enough to avoid facing the cold. This is how you can spend months, even years, feeling like you're improving, without actually improving, because you're not chasing results anymore. You're chasing the feeling of becoming better, and the internet has learned to feed that feeling perfectly. Motivational creators, coaches, mindset gurus, they've mastered the psychology of almost progress. They give you just enough dopamine to stay inspired, but never enough truth to make you uncomfortable. Because discomfort is what forces growth, and then growth doesn't sell, hope does. Excitement does. The idea of transformation does. That's why most motivational content feels like a warm blanket. It's not there to challenge you. It's there to soothe you, to keep you believing that one day all this listening, all this planning, all this becoming ready will somehow pay off. But life doesn't pay you for potential. It only pays you for proof. So you sit there, day after day, with more motivation than ever, yet somehow less movement. You confuse knowing what to do with actually doing it. You confuse watching success with building it. And that confusion, that subtle blur between inspiration and action, that's where most people live their entire lives. But if you slow down, if you really sit with yourself in silence, you start to feel the gap between who you think you're becoming and what you're actually doing. And that's when the illusion starts to fade, not instantly but piece by piece, like fog clearing after dawn. You see, the illusion of progress isn't just something that happens to you. It's something you allow, because deep down, you don't really want to face how slow, how quiet, and how uncertain real progress feels. You'd rather feel a rush of motivation than sit with the weight of doing something difficult. And who can blame you? The truth isn't exciting. It's not cinematic. It's not something you can package into a 30-second quote. The truth is boring, it's repetitive, it's lonely, and it demands something from you that no speech ever will. Consistency without applause. That's why we cling to the illusion, because it's easier to dream about change than to live through it. It's easier to imagine the result than to embrace the process. We'd rather scroll through clips of success than live through days of confusion. Motivation feeds us the feeling of progress without the pain of growth, and our minds, desperate for comfort, accept the trade. It's not laziness, it's protection. Your brain wants to keep you safe. Every time you start something new, every time you take a risk, every time you fail, it hurts, and motivation offers a shortcut around that pain. It lets you feel like you've done the hard part without ever facing the consequences. That's why it's addictive. It's emotional sugar, sweet, satisfying, and completely empty. But here's the thing. Real progress doesn't feel like sugar. It feels like hunger. It feels like getting up before you want to. It feels like questioning everything you thought you knew. It feels like failing again and again until something inside you stops breaking and starts building. That's what they don't tell you in those highlight reels. They show you the speeches, the success, the glow, but not the silence between them. Not the part where you doubt yourself. Not the part where you wonder if it's even worth it. Not the part where you want to quit. Not because you're weak, but because you're tired of fighting the same invisible war every day. That's the reality that motivation hides from you. It doesn't want you to see that side because it doesn't sell. No one wants to watch someone quietly working through boredom and failure. People want fireworks, not foundations. And so we've created a culture that worships potential, but avoids the pain that turns it into something real. But if you've ever actually built something, a skill, a habit, a body, a life, you already know what real progress feels like. It's not adrenaline. It's not hype. It's peace. It's showing up even when it's dull, even when no one's watching, even when you don't feel inspired. It's doing what needs to be done without the music, without the speech, without the illusion. That's growth, and it's quiet. The irony is, the moment you stop chasing motivation is the moment you start moving, because you finally accept that progress doesn't feel like progress when it's real. It feels like uncertainty, like failure, like nothing's changing, and until one day, it has. And you realize that all along. It wasn't motivation that you needed. It was patience, it was focus, it was honesty. There comes a point when you just get tired. Not tired from working, tired from waiting for the spark, the right mindset, the right morning routine, the next big inspiration that will finally make it all click. You realize you've been living in a loop, always preparing to begin, but never beginning. And one day the thought hits you, what if there is no perfect moment? What if progress starts the moment you stop waiting for it to feel like progress? That's the quiet turning point. It's not dramatic. It's not something you post about or tell anyone. It's just this calm, almost invisible shift inside you. When you stop needing to be motivated to do what matters. When you start doing things not because they excite you, but because they align with who you want to be. That's when illusion fades and truth walks in. The truth is, real change feels like stillness. It feels like walking in the dark, unsure if you're even going in the right direction. But the longer you walk, the more you begin to see faint outlines, small progress, tiny proof that you're not where you started. And that's when something powerful happens. You begin to trust yourself again. Not the hyped up version of you from those videos, but the real you, the one who actually shows up. You stop needing external voices to tell you to move. You start hearing your own voice again, the one that whispers, keep going. Slowly, quietly, but keep going. That's self-trust, and it's stronger than motivation will ever be. You'll still fall back sometimes. You'll still crave that high, that quick hit of inspiration, and that's okay. You're human, but each time, you'll recognize the pattern faster. You'll see the illusion before it pulls you in. You'll know that the real reward isn't in feeling ready. It's in acting, even when you're not. Because the truth is, life isn't built in bursts of passion. It's built in quiet repetition, in days that blur together, in work that no one praises, in small efforts that don't feel like progress, but are. And slowly, as you stack those days, you'll look back and realize something beautiful. You've stopped chasing progress and started living it. That's when motivation becomes unnecessary, because you're no longer trying to convince yourself to move. You simply move. You no longer dream about who you could be. You wake up and be it, and that's the end of the illusion. Not because you stopped believing in growth, but because you finally understood that progress isn't loud, it's not flashy, it's quiet, steady, and patient. And once you stop needing to feel it, you start creating it. So if you're watching this, and you've been trapped in that endless cycle of getting inspired, burning out, feeling lost, and starting again, know this: you don't need another speech. You don't need another quote. You just need a moment of honesty with yourself, to admit that you've been chasing the feeling of change instead of the reality of it. And once you do, the illusion ends, and your life finally begins. Because hype fades, motivation fades, but discipline, quiet, consistent discipline, becomes freedom. And that's all Unhyped is about. Not to make you feel inspired, but to remind you that you don't need to be. You just need to be real.